Sidnie Thompson has lived a lifetime since her birth on Valentine's Day of 2001. She was born with a rare disease that lurked among what many thought were minor symptoms.
I knew before we left the hospital that, she wasn't acting exactly right. But I didn't really start suspecting anything until she was about 3 weeks.
At birth, Sidnie was a beautiful and robust baby. She weighed 9 pounds, 12 ounces, and was 20 inches in length. She was jaundiced and had diarrhea, but that's not uncommon for a newborn. Her mom, Shonda, was told to breastfeed every 2 hours and to see a doctor.
Our pediatricians just kept saying she had, rotavirus, or she had intestinal virus, and then they said she had a yeast infection on her skin and cradle cap, and when we would wash her hair, her scalp would bleed, and we knew, our third child, that wasn't normal.
At the age of 2 months, Shonda saw a pediatric gastroenterologist who said that despite the presence of blood in the baby's stool, there was nothing wrong with Sidnie. The baby, he said, was perfect. Then Sidnie nearly died. She contracted several staph infections at once. She appeared lifeless and was being fed through a tube. The medical expenses mounted. Shonda tried other doctors, and while each had an opinion, nothing seemed to work. Shonda became convinced there was something very wrong.
So we found a really good pediatric dermatologist at UAMS that biopsied some of her rash, and it came back histiocytosis, and that was at 10 weeks old.
Well, Sidnie has a disease called Langerhans cell histiocytosis, and this is a disease of the immune system. It's not a cancer, but in some ways it acts like a cancer because these cells called histiocytes grow in abnormal ways in various parts of the body. In Sidnie's case, it was in her intestines and in her skin. It's really quite a serious disease because the immune system is so out of control that the cells continue growing and have to be given some chemotherapy to stop the growth of the cells and allow the immune system to get back under control.
Sidnie was treated till she was almost 11 months old in Little Rock.
Sidnie needed to go to Dr. McLean in Houston for treatment every 2 weeks. Aside from the cost of flying by commercial airlines, Sidnie's weakened immune system made her susceptible to infections suffered by fellow airline passengers. The baby's weakened condition also made it difficult for an extended car trip.
Because of the blessing of the Angel flights, she's had a very convenient trip here, and the help with the ground transportation makes her entrance into the medical center much more smooth than it could have been otherwise.
Our pilots are volunteers. They volunteer their time, their aircraft, the fuel, the total cost of the flight.
When Sidnie first came here, she was a very sick-looking girl.
When she was first diagnosed, I took her to have her picture made because I thought she would die, and if she died, I wanted to have that picture of her the way she was, the way that I saw her at 10 weeks old.
My first flight, I was so nervous. I didn't sleep the night before. I was just a wreck. They were superb. I mean, they were just so sweet and talked to us the whole time and explain things, you're going to feel this now when we land, and so I wasn't petrified, and they were great.
I just came back from this trip just being very fulfilled, knowing that we play a small part in helping the people, but we play a critical part.
On this trip, Dr. McLean came to Shonda with news. This time, the news was good.
After about 4 months of chemo, we looked again, and the GI tract was almost normal.
The dream of Angel Flight is that hopefully people become aware of us, that through the social workers, the doctors, that if people need the treatment and need to get somewhere to get it, that we'll assist in getting them there.
They took her and treated us with respect, and even though we didn't have any money, they knew we didn't, and they took us where we needed to go.
What I've learned that when you get involved in the charitable community, there's like this invisible tapestry out there that you don't realize it's there until you need it. And now, since my involvement with Angel Flight the last few years, you just learn that there's so many people willing to help, give of their time, their money, their efforts to help people. Well, there's an old saying that if you want to help yourself, help others. And I find Angel Flight's the perfect way to do that.